What's up, Liverpool fans? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here, unfortunately, for the post-match reactions. Liverpool defeated at home for back-to-back losses at home for the first time in God knows how long. We lose 1-0 to Potter's Men, 1-0 to Brighton. Very disappointing game. As always, I'm your host, Steve, with the other host, Scans, my brother. We're homies off today, but we have a super special guest. I wish I was on better terms, but we have our good friend Chris from LFC Day Trippers joining us today. Chris, thanks so much for joining us, man. How are you feeling?
Thanks for having me on. Just wish it was in better circumstances, but it's deflated after the previous two games where we turned a bit of a corner, but back to back, a bit of a similar pattern of what we've seen for the last couple of games. I think it's a combination of lack of options and not changing up enough that has sort of killed us, unfortunately. But look, we'll dissect Liverpool. We'll go through what was bad. There's quite a lot, but in fairness, we've got to say to Brighton, unlike I would say West Brom, played deep, played defensive. But when they had their chances, they attacked in numbers, and they really had a go. They had a go when they had the chances. And look, if it wasn't for Keller, they could have scored 2 or 3. They played well and they were organised. Look, and fair play to Brighton, Tottenham and Liverpool back to back wins. You've got to give them credit where it's from a Liverpool point of view, as positive as I like to be about Liverpool, sadly I do think that's killed any hopes we have of a title retention. Now it's going to take some fall from City and also us to find some form. So I think what we should be aiming for now is try. It sounds horrible to say it because of what happened last year, but I suppose it's first world problems. But aim for second. Let's aim to be the best of the rest and hope for a good run in Europe. The hope we've got to have is hopefully Fabinho, Alisson should be back for City. Mane hopefully might be back. Jota can't be far away. So those sort of players. If you had them in your squad today, it'd be great to bring on a Jota or had someone like a James Milner on the bench to bring off the bench rather than making him do four games in 11 days, which isn't ideal, but his options are limited at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean you said a lot there, and honestly, I completely agree. I mean, Brighton 100% deserved all 3 points today. The fact that Magical Mo took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. 11 shots on target. 11. It's not going to get it done. Absolutely is never going to get it done. The thing for me is that, listen, obviously the injuries are adding up. The boys, they looked really just off the pace today. Didn't have it. And it was a tough time to play Brighton as well. They're on a 4 or 5 game they haven't lost in 4 or 5 games. Like you said, they had a really good performance against Tottenham. I was just really disappointed because I thought we were finally, for the first time, since all of our injuries piled up, that we were finally gaining momentum. And I would have loved to play City off of 3 straight wins, and with them having a really good January, I thought it would have been an awesome match next weekend. And I don't know, I think you said it perfectly, Chris. It's deflating. Title hope's definitely gone. And to be honest with you, I think you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. I don't even know if top 4 is absolutely in there. Everton still has 2 games in hand. And they're behind us in the table. Tottenham's right there. With our injuries, you never know. Obviously, we have Ozan Kabak coming in as well as Ben Davies. But you clearly saw we were missing something in the midfield and had absolutely no creativity again. And, teams have the blueprint. Go into a low block. Liverpool is going to have a tough time scoring.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly there. So top 4, I don't think I think it's too early for panic stations yet on that. I mean, yes, if Everton win the 2 games in hand, they're 2 points above us, correct. But one of their games in hand is City. I'll be honest, City don't look like they're going to lose anytime soon. And another game in hand is Villa, who, again, we've seen they're a horrible side to play. I mean, they slapped us 7-2, but you've seen they've given City games, they give Chelsea games, they give everyone a game. So I'm not saying Everton can't win them. They've got the quality to win both games, but it's not like they're playing Sheffield United and Fulham at home. Right. If they had them at home, I'd be like, well, there's 2 wins. So look, I was on our show last night. We did a preview. I've got egg on my face. I had Liverpool for a 3-1 today because I thought 3 games in a week might have told on Brighton, but it didn't. They played well. They just adapted better. We just seem a little bit feeling sorry for ourselves. A little bit of how it used to be perhaps under the Kenny years, where if we go down, like, it's just not happening for us. And I just don't know whether it's 3 or 4 years. It's just a bit of a mental strain. And who can we bring on at the moment is a bit of frustration. I mean, we'll go through the game itself. Lineup wise, obviously Kelleher being in for Alisson, he's ill. I'm quite glad they pointed out very clearly it wasn't COVID. He's just ill, which says to me he's back for City. So, I mean, to be honest, Alisson not being there is not the reason we lost the game, because I don't think he'd have saved the goal.
Oh.
It was just one of the ones got deflection went in. So I don't think that was the big one. I was a little surprised Milner started. I was surprised he played, but the thought in the back of my head was, well, if you start Milner, that says to me then Fabinho must be close. And he must be, and so he's Fabinho or Henderson will be in midfield. Henderson's on the bench. So I thought maybe just thought one more game for him. So I thought Jones was unlucky not to get a run out. Gini was in the six. He was just okay. Didn't really work. Thiago, I'm a big Thiago fan. I've watched him from his Barca days. He's a brilliant player. He was just really flat today. It just didn't work. I think the only bit of brilliance we saw from him was the little free kick when he tried to chip it over, which he's done at Bayern before. But it just didn't happen for him. He was very deep, which is I don't think he's supposed to be that deep. I think it should be Wijnaldum beating the other two bombing on. But he just seemed, I don't know if that's because Basuma pinned him back, but he just wasn't doing it. Salah, he had his couple of chances, but wasn't enough. Unfortunately, Bobby was not anonymous, and Shaqiri, while he's probably not great in the wing, he's better in the middle. He didn't do enough for me. Every time he got the ball, it didn't stick. It just came back. He didn't do anything clever. And while he may not be naturally a winger, he's more of a central attacker. He can. I would still expect about a lot of his ability to do more, because we've seen him do more. So all of them were great. The subs to me weren't fantastic. I think they were at the wrong times.
I'm going to disagree there. I think that you kind of went through a lot of players there. I think that the one thing you didn't mention, I think actually Klopp got his tactics wrong. I think he got the lineup wrong. I think that Shaqiri on the left was useless. I don't think he created anything on his own. He couldn't hold the ball up. He can't beat a man one-on-one anymore. He doesn't have the pace.
Doesn't need it.
He does much better in the middle and on the right, because he can take a quick touch and open up space with a pass. He can't do that on the left. He didn't go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He likes to do a little touch on the right because he can bring it on his stronger foot. But, this is not, he's a 28-year-old international forward. He's played in quite a few big positions for big clubs. And politely, and this goes out a bit arrogant, it's Brighton at home. You should be able to adapt to Brighton at home as a 28-year-old international. If that was Curtis Jones, and you're saying, like, when he played on the left, didn't quite go for him, but he's 19. It's hard for a 19-year-old to adapt. It's got to get under his belt and things like that. I can't accept it from a 28-year-old international. Look, I'm not digging him out because he wasn't the only one. I mean, there aren't many in this who have got any sort of shining lights to have against them. But at the same time, the reason I'm deflated. I mean, obviously, I was kicking the screen when the game was on, but I can't go into the full vitriol of anger and all that. And maybe this is the wrong mentality for me, but I finally seen them win the league, and we've seen 3 years where they've gone Champions League, second Champions League, league winners. And this year, it's with other factors, it's just not happened this year for us. And I'm a bit as disappointed as it is. And look, I thought we should have retained this year, but it's not going to happen. We have to suck it up. But I'm still a bit it's if the end of the world for us this year is we only finish in the top 4. All right, it's not where we want to be, but we can kick on. We can kick on again next year. I just think some of the hyperbole and the overreaction that we do get more on the social media side, and that's just the way it is. I can't quite get myself to that point. Look, if we don't win it, if we do have 3 or 4 games at home where we're not winning, the alarm bells will ring. But I still think with this side, there's too much quality that it will eventually kick in and find a run. I just don't know what it'll be.
It seems pretty easy for any side to just come to Anfield now and just line up in a low block and beat this or get a result against this Liverpool team. I mean, maybe Pep Guardiola will do that this weekend. He'll just line up in a low block and we won't have an answer, because that's the issue. Yeah. I'm going to say I still think that Klopp got it wrong. I don't think Milner should have started. I think that Jones should have started in the middle of the park. I don't understand why in the second half that Milner was given so much freedom in the midfield. He was given freedom to get forward. Thiago was not given that freedom at all. He was still resigned to hang back with Gini Wijnaldum. And I don't understand after the goal why we didn't take James Milner off. I mean, if he is in that midfield and he's getting into those spaces, he can't create. His touch is off. How many times did he lose possession at the top of the box? Definitely a few times. And those are key areas.
Yeah.
And someone like Thiago is in there, someone like Curtis Jones, who have better feet, more skill in the ball, are quicker. They're able to open up that space. And I think that a lot of this is on Klopp. I thought it was very poor. People are giving shit to Origi. He came on with 10 minutes, 15 minutes left. I thought he should have started, to be honest. I thought he should have started on the left over Shaqiri. Shaqiri can't play on the left.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I caveat with the Milner thing is I think his hands are tied when Wijnaldum get himself booked. And in terms of Thiago, the few times he did get forward, and maybe I don't know if it's just him getting used to the league and it's getting used to. He's got a horrible habit at the moment of putting stupid tackles in which kill the attack. And he did it 2 or 3 times where you thought, right, here we go, we're through. And he puts in it's a bit of a lazy tackle and it kills the game because then Bryson go, right, set back up now, do our 2 banks of 5, and we'll kick on again. And that's where I think that's the reason Milner stayed on. If Wijnaldum wasn't booked, I think Milner would have come off. But the problem is you don't want Wijnaldum suspended for the City game because in fairness, that's where he excels. He excels in those sort of big games. But I'm with you. I do think Klopp should. If it was me, I was surprised Jones didn't start. And I was surprised Jones didn't come on first sub or at half time. Chamberlain, it hasn't happened yet for him this year. I just don't know if it's going to happen for him this year. I don't know if injuries are told or he's just taking his time to get himself back into form. But yeah, the thing with Chamberlain was he was very direct and he'd have that pop from distance, but it wasn't happening. But then again, how does it happen unless you play him? But there isn't really a game you can risk him in at the moment. Well, risk him, it's probably not the right word, but there's not a game you want to throw him in because he feels like a risk.
Yeah.
So, the positives we can see is potentially, Jota and Mane aren't too far back. Keita might appear for 3 games this year, like he normally does, and then he'll be injured again. Exactly. I hate to be down on the lad because he's a brilliant player, but I can't say, well, when Keita's back, he'll kick on because I can't rely. He's like Joe Matip. I can't rely he's going to be there. The only thing I thought Klopp might have tried, maybe it's a bit left field, bit of a different thing, is would he not have brought Ben Davies on? Now, it's a risk because he's not done any training with the club. Throw Ben Davies on and push Henson in midfield. Just for the last 25, 30 minutes. We'll lose it anyway. What have you got to do? I mean, if fair to Henson, he played very well at centre-back. And, I mean, Phillips has got some very unfair stick. I thought he did all right. A bit unlucky with the goal, but in general, I thought he did okay. Got some good blocks. Basically did what a defender should do. He did better than 2 fullbacks. 2 fullbacks were crap.
No, I mean, you said it perfectly right there. I mean, I think, the issue with our poor form, obviously, is all the injuries adding up, but our two of our best center midfielders are playing center back. And like, you could just see it today. We were missing a guy like Henderson who can sit in the 6 and release Thiago going forward. So like, it's just causing these injuries are finally just causing all the disconnect to really just be everywhere on the pitch. Like the best chance that we had today came from a long ball from Henderson in the back to Salah, and you put it over the bar. Like that was literally the best chance that we had, and that came in the first 5 minutes of the game.
The only move we did in the second half that was any good was we did some quick one-touch link-up play, and Salah just did the instant shot. It went just wide. It's one of them. That was one of those shots that if he looks in, it goes in. That was a decent move. I think possibly because of just the lack of we're forcing it. We are. I think it's where the crossing comes in. I think we forced it to us because there's nothing wrong with Liverpool crossing it because we score a lot of goals from crosses. We did last year, and they weren't all Van Dijk heading it, but we're not crossing it from the right areas. We're not. What we used to do is try and get like a Trent behind them, more byline, and cut it across. City are very good at that goal. I mean, that's more of a carbon copy City goal. They get it to a byline. It's a simple tap back. I mean, that's why Sterling get 10, 15 goals a season. Because that move is brilliant. It's very hard to defend against as well. But I just don't know with the lack of options we've got that. I mean, I'll be interested who we pick for City if we know who's available. But
City are so good at that though because their midfielders are given the freedom to take risks. How many times have you seen Gundogan pop up in the 6-yard box or pop up in the box, and like today he popped up at the end of the 6-yard or end of the 18-yard box, whipped in a cross to Raheem Sterling, and they scored. Gundogan is all over the pitch. He's given the freedom. Thiago is not given that freedom today. Milner wasn't given that freedom today until the second half. I mean, that's how you open up a low block. You just have constant late runs. That's what we saw against West Ham. We saw West Ham. We saw Thiago and Milner finding space forward. It allows the defense to move around, opening up space. Trent can get on an overlap. Robertson can get on an overlap. It's just there wasn't any of that. It was just so easy to defend. It's just the defense.
But is that
just sit there in the 6-yard box and just wait for the ball and clear it? It's not hard.
Yeah, but is that tactics or is that the players not doing the plan? Because I can't imagine Klopp's just gone to him, right, guys, the things you've done for the last 2 games, don't do that. It's worth last year, but we're not going to do that again.
Yeah,
I don't believe that's the question. I think that's players not doing what they're supposed to do. And in terms of Gundogan, he's brilliant this year. But the reason he's brilliant this year is Rodri's probably actually finally found a bit of form. Because the biggest problem for them last year was without Fernandinho, and they had to leave Rodri in the middle. Rodri's great with everything in front of him. He's a brilliant ball player, and he's everything. He doesn't like anything behind him, and he doesn't turn, and he can get behind it, because that's why we've had success behind him, because we used to put Manny behind him or Firmino behind it, and he doesn't like it. Whereas he's got better at that. So that's allowed Gundogan to do it. So again, it's a form thing. So I think when everyone's in form, people do kick on.
But I mean, I think it is down to tactics, because this is constantly an issue with low blocks, and we very rarely do we succeed when the midfielders don't take risks. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me that like the success that we've been having the last couple of games was us playing more through the middle, and then all of a sudden today we just go back to whipping crosses in and just with no target forward. So it's just frustrating, and we all can sense the frustration. It's all there, you know what I mean? But it's just so frustrating that this keeps happening. Like, you know, the only time that we really see Liverpool play like the Liverpool that we know, like with all of the injuries, is when teams come out at us, and that's only the big teams. I think that's why we have a good record against the big teams.
Yeah, I maybe mostly because Brighton play 3 at the back, so he's probably thought I need to get it wider to get around them. But we got wide, but we didn't get anyone doing the other part of the game. So that's where the issue was. Whereas Tottenham, most teams don't play 3 at the back. So that may be right. Now, interestingly, City play 3 at the back tonight. So I don't know if that was just a one-off for Burnley or if that's a plan they've got for Champions League. Whereas City have been inconsistent in Champions League, so maybe they're thinking they're going to play into a 3 in the back system because it'll help them in Europe. And to be politely, they slap Burnley every year. So to be honest, they can play 4 or 3 at the back. It's one of those teams that they always beat. We've got teams like that. We know we have a good record against. Everyone does. So you try things against teams that you've got a fairly confident record about. Look, the hope we've got to have is in the next couple of games, you're going to see Kabak or Ben Davis. I can't remember his name. Then one of them will start at left centre back, and then with Fabinho or Henderson at right centre back, which means that you've got at least one of them in the midfield. Yeah. So then you can rotate a Genie out, or a Milner out, or a Keita out, or a Chamberlain out. We've then got options to actually rotate them out and sit them on the bench. Mm-hmm. Hopefully when he gets back to fitness, Jota. People are going to think when he starts, he's the great white hope. Going to give him a bit of hope, a bit of chance to settle in. But it would, in this run, that's where you think, I wish we had a Jota throw on. I know everyone will throw in, why did you play him against Midtjylland? But there are different arguments for why he did. I've got a theory why he did, and it backfired. But that's why he's a manager. He takes the risks that he has to take. Yeah. But you saw today. I mean, I messaged my mate saying that's 11 we've put on the bench. We've got. Shows the depth of the squad when you think you got 8 first teamers out. Now, that's not the reason we lost to Brighton. We still should be beating Brighton. If you want to retain a title, you've got to be beating Brightons and Burnleys and Newcastles and West Broms. That's where we've let ourselves down this year. And look, we could see it. Klopp can see it. So at some point, a world-class manager is going to find a way around it. Now, I don't know why it's because his options are tied. It links back to other things. Should things have been done sooner? But, we can't cry over it now. We've got the squad. We've got the squad.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to ask you guys, though, is, again, like I brought up the point earlier, 11 shots, only 1 on target. This is starting to become a trend where we can't, we're getting shots, but none of them can hit the target. Like, are you guys at the point now where you're actually concerned with how? Yeah, the one thing I never thought that we'd have the issue was being clinical. We've always been clinical since we had this front 3, and now it seems like, again, obviously the injuries play a part in it, but we're just not we're not executing on the few opportunities that we get. Like, how much is that a concern going forwards?
It's a slight concern, but they can't stay in that form forever. It's very rare, though, that you see 3 of them out of form at the same time. I think it's the first time I've seen all 3 of them out of form. Because, look, in the 3 years beforehand, they haven't always all been banging goals in for fun. But generally one of them is. So it negates the other 2, and that's generally how the partnership works. That's the benefit of the 3. And I keep mentioning, but if we have the Jota option, again, I think that gives someone like a Firmino or a Salah or Mane a kick up the arse, because he was in that form, Jota, that if he started, you weren't going, oh Christ, he's dropped Salah for Jota. You just go, oh, okay, cool, he's in. All right, fair enough. Whereas if we started Origi, we started Minamino, it always felt like a risk You're always like, ooh, must be we've got to rotate, but it feels like a risk. He doesn't. So that's my hope is. And I think that is a sort of game where maybe you need a Sadio Mane who's a bit, he's unpredictable, in a good way. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. He's got that unpredictability in that I don't think anyone could quite mark what he can do. I know he's been out of form, but I just think he can do something a bit out of this world that you go to create that space, which sets up a Firmino or sets up a Salah. The ongoing concern is Firmino's form for me. He was great. He's been 2 or 3 really good games, and he's gone through a dip. Now, I don't know if that's systematic. I don't know if that's because, he's been there the longest now, 5 years. His 5th year now with us.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 5 now.
And I always remember a comment Klopp made about Firmino, which was, I have to sub him off because it's the only time I can rest him. Salah and Mane know how to cheat. And what he means by that is they know when to, in attacks, they know when to find the 5 minutes to not run the lungs off. Whereas Firmino, he says, doesn't stop. He runs his lungs off all game. Look, that's the way he plays. It's a blessing, but it's also a curse. That's what Ronaldo, Messi, Rooney was very good at that. He'd know when to get his 10-minute break in a game, but it wouldn't hurt the team. And that's just a thing certain players have. Yeah. So,
that's a really good point.
But that's a summer. Look, we'll have to worry about it in the summer. I'm just praying that a couple of the other guys come back soon. I just think if we have options, I think that brings a freshness. I think that does give players a kick up the arse when you're bringing on freshness. Look, if none of them come back, say we're stuck with that team again, I'd be starting Jones all day. He's just something a bit different. And do you know what? It isn't always going to work out. We saw it at West Brom at home. He held onto the ball too long. It cost us the equaliser. But he's 19. But at the same time, you saw at West Ham, he comes on and does something off the cuff because he hasn't got any worries about it.
Yeah, I'd like to see people shoot more too. You see a lot of the midfielders are just, they approach the top of the 18 box and it's like they get nervous, they get scared. They have to pass it out wide to Trent. They have to pass it back to Genie. They have to swing it out wide. Whatever it is, when you take a shot from the outside, it keeps the defense on their heels, keeps them guessing. It opens up space. And that's just one thing that we haven't done against a low block is open up space. We're just so predictable. It's easy. Everybody tries to get within the 6-yard box to take a shot. And when that doesn't happen, we recycle it back. And it's just a continuous process. And it's just, it's so frustrating to watch. It must be so frustrating to play. And it must be very easy to play against.
Yeah, it must be. But look, we know as bad as we've been and as inconsistent we've been, we are still, we're 4th. With the run we've been on and the injuries we've had, I was expecting us to be a hell of a lot lower than what we are. So the hope for us is, look, I can have egg in my face. It won't be the first time. It probably won't be the last. It clipped up this, I'm sure. But they can't keep being this bad. At some point, it has to turn. Now, how that turns is I don't know. Because to be fair, I thought the last 2 games might have been the turning point. Which maybe that way we played last 2 games is the formula for away from home. Maybe we found a way to play away from home that's going to work because our away form has been patchy at best.
Then we lost that home form.
But now we've lost the home form. So at home, maybe he's got to think of something a bit different. Now, maybe his option for what I want to do at home a bit different involves maybe it is playing all 4 lads. Maybe it is playing Mane, Salah, Firmino, and Jota, and just playing 2 midfield and going really balls out, which we've done at home and has worked. But at the moment, we haven't got the players to do that.
That's what I was going to bring up, though, because at what point, in my opinion, when you look at these stretch of games that we have not played well, the one consistent thing is that we're not scoring goals, and I can't even really blame the performance of the defense. If you want to say the players who have to play defense, I'll hear that all day, but it really hasn't been the defense's fault that we've lost all these games. So at what point do you go to that 4-2-3-1, play 4 guys up top, and just try something different? That's the thing that drives me crazy.
Yeah, I suppose Klopp will argue the reason we haven't conceded many defense leads, we are protecting them a bit more. The fullbacks aren't pushing on as much, which is making us not create as many decent chances. We're still creating chances, but from my eyes, statistically, people may tell me differently. From the eye test, as they say, I don't think we're creating enough quality chance. I'm not going, that's a real chance. I think I had the 2 I mentioned the 2 Salah ones, and that was it. The rest were all half chances. Firmino shot which got deflection, went just wide. Yeah, if you look in, it goes in. But it is what it is. Basically, with someone like a Phillips, if he had a bit more pace, you'd be less worried about him. Because bless him, it's like watching a tugboat turn. He's just not. He hasn't got that in him. That's just what he got. But everything else, heading, tackling, he was fine. I actually think the one thing that's improved in Phillips since the Newcastle game is his passing's got a lot better. Look, he's not Van Dijk, he's not Gomez, but it was bringing the ball out. It was playing it into feet or playing it in front of players to make players run onto it, which is better, which is kind of what we missed against Newcastle. So, but I agree, as much of the issues we have in defence and midfield, at some point the guys up front, they've got to start being a bit more clinical. And I just don't know if that's a bit of pressure. It's in their heads now that they know they haven't been clinical. And I think you snatch at things more when you know you're not in form. With you, whatever level of football, it's 5-7 with your mates or you're a professional footballer. If you know you're not in form, you do take the extra touch. You do snatch at it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it is for me. What Chris Welch said in the chat, he said we lack goals from midfield, and Man City they've got that. We haven't. And then Magical Mo said that Man United have that as well. I mean, that's definitely what's missing for me. I mean, like I said, Kevin De Bruyne are scoring goals. Bruno Fernandes and Pogba are scoring goals. Even McTominay is scoring goals for United. So I mean, we can't be we're over reliant on the front three, and when one of them's out and two of them are playing bad, then we have no answers, and that's the issue for me. So I think in the summer, stuff needs to change. Obviously, Wijnaldum's probably on his way out. Maybe you bring in an attacking midfielder that can change the game. Definitely,
yeah. I mean, look, we didn't have goals from midfield last year. Difference was what we were getting from fullback, goals and assists. No other club was getting. United and City were not getting what we were getting out of fullback. So it was just attacking it in a different way. I mean, I've seen a few people in the chat talk about Coutinho. It's the elephant in the room that everyone keeps talking about. The thing people forget was we had loads of shitty results like this with Coutinho on the side. And what would Coutinho do is he'd take it all himself and he'd balloon it. Like some would go in and they look brilliant. Didn't go in as much as people think, So it's great having the shots from distance when they come off. And it's great to have people who've got that ability. I mean, to me, Thiago's got that in him to take shots from distance. He looks to me like he's still finding his feet because he's not taking shots on like I think he should. I know he's got that in his locker.
I think he's too reserved right now. He's just told. I think he's being told to stay back and just spray the ball and spray balls around. I don't think he has the freedom that he should have on this team.
Yeah, I think it's more he's finding his form, his fitness. I think that's what it is. I think he's managing his own legs, as in he knows what he can do. Because I must admit, since he's come back from the injuries, he hasn't missed a game yet. Which is impressive because come back from the injury, you thought he'll get rotated in and out. Now we haven't got anyone else to rotate him out for. That could be one reason, but that could be his way of managing himself in the games. But
did we lose him?
I think we might have lost him for a second.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's the problem with Trent is that he's only really played one good match since he's come back from injury. You know what I mean? He's completely out of form. But yet we still go to him to create the offense. And like the first half, I was literally just wanting to throw my remote control across the room because I was just like, we went away from everything that we were doing well the last two games and just going right back to insanity, the shit that wasn't working. And like, I'm just sick of seeing them play whipping crosses right into Lewis Dunk. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it was like the Burnley game all over again. But I actually thought we dominated the Burnley game. This Brighton game was just a shit performance on all levels. I thought it was just absolutely terrible, and we just really lacked any creativity. I mean, my whole thing is the midfield and Bobby Firmino in the first 10 minutes of the game. If we play well in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, I think we're going to win the game because we build up confidence. We understand where everybody needs to be on the pitch. But that didn't happen today. You saw Bobby Firmino lose the ball on countless occasions. You saw Shaqiri losing the ball on countless occasions. And it was just easy for Brighton to defend. And that gives Brighton confidence in the long run. They know that, we can take this Liverpool team. They're not gonna create anything. I mean, when did we finally get a shot on net? I don't even know when it was. It was just, I'm just so frustrated about it because it's the same thing over and over whenever we play a low block. It's just lack of creativity. Lack of shots on target, and it's terrible. Title's gone.
No, yeah. I mean,
unless we beat City, the title's gone.
I think even beating City, it's over. It doesn't matter because they can beat the team. They can beat the teams in the bottom of the league. They can beat the low block. We cannot. Literally, any team that's outside of the top six from now on is going to play a low block against us, and we're way wildly too inconsistent against that. And it's just not going to work. It's going to take Jota to be back sooner than later. going to a 4-2-3-1, having all 4 of those guys on the field, and being able to allow Thiago to be creative and give him freedom. But I don't know how all that's going to be able to happen. I don't know. It's really frustrating, really annoying. I don't even know what else to say at this point. It's just we keep saying the same shit every single episode, and it's just getting really, really frustrating with this team right now.
Well, I think it comes down to a lot of it comes onto Klopp. To be honest, I think that oftentimes Pep Guardiola is criticized for being too tactical. He's always trying to make these little changes. He's constantly substituting players. Jurgen Klopp isn't tactical enough. He doesn't make the proper subs at the right time.
Excuse me.
I get some background noise, I think. But yeah, sorry about that.
No, I completely agree. No, it's all good points there. Just to kind of wrap things up here, I just want to make sure I touched on everything I wanted to touch on.
Sorry about that, Mia. The weather of it just cut all my Wi-Fi out, so that's why I found a hotspot very quickly.
Oh, all good. We're actually about to wrap up here. Pretty much covered everything that we wanted to cover. I mean, Chris, anything that you just wanted to add before we wrap up here, just about performance, the rest of the season, anything like that?
Look, rest of the season, I think title's gone. I think we all have to accept that, and I would say keep the faith. I think Klopp's had a bad day today, as of the team. But remember, it was only 2 games ago. He was very, very good tactically. Everyone has these bad moments, but I do think with this Colosseum squad and the players we've got coming back, it will turn. And hope. Look, you've got to hope City's going to be like the Tottenham game. It's going to give us the boost, the kick to kick us on, and also fingers crossed, Liverpool in Europe we're generally a different beast, assuming the game goes ahead. I mean, have you heard the latest thing about the game?
Yeah, I heard all. Yeah, sounds like
I mean, that's crackers. That's crackers by UEFA. If because of German quarantine rules, the game can't go ahead, we'll award Liverpool a 3-0 lead in the first leg. No, move it a day, or move it a week. You've got enough time. Move it a week so then it could come in. I mean, there is an argument that what they should have done, me personally, is they should have suspended Champions League and do what they did last year, move it to the end of the season, and tell everyone, truncate the season. Every country goes to 3 games a week, so that all the seasons finish at the end of April, early May, and then we do the Champions League tournament in May. That's probably what they should have done, and played it all in one country again, because we all know COVID's not going away. It's not going away anytime soon. So even with vaccines. So, but look, if it was me, if that was roles reversed, I'd be fuming that we had a 3-0 defeat against us just because of something that's outside of our control, and I don't think it's fair on Leipzig. So I'd like to think the club, something will come together. But I mean, to me, it's typical UEFA and our football authorities at the moment is we can foresee this problem. This problem's been there for a little while. We ain't going to do anything about it, and we'll let you sort it out. So, I mean, what are Leipzig going to do? Leipzig aren't going to turn around to Merkel, the Prime Minister, say, can you let these in, even though it's against your country's rules? She's going to say, no, take a hike. Wait.
That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all, but nothing they do ever makes sense. So
no, it doesn't. No, I mean, we all know why they won't move it, because if they move it a day, it's all of us will watch that game, which means we're not watching the games that are on Wednesday night, which is probably Barcelona against sort of. If they move it a week, people are watching that. But you know why? It's money, because that is the way the world goes around. Money, and they don't want to take eyes off another game, because knowing that if they move it a week, it's probably Porto against someone who's not very exciting, and they know nobody will watch it, because people would rather watch, the Cities, the Liverpools, the Barças, the Real Madrids. There's certain clubs that people just want to watch, whether they're in good form or not. So, but look, all I say is, I know it's hard, but keep the faith. I've been through much worse Liverpool sides than this. I'm sure you guys have.
Yes.
This is, as they say, it's a big bump in the road, but Klopp will get it. Klopp and the club will get it right. Maybe not this year, but we'll get it right.
Yeah, I agree. And as long as we secure top 4 and have Champions League next year and get that much needed revenue into the club, that's the most important thing right now. Obviously, we want to retain, go back to back, but there's a reason why that's really hard to do. So it is what it is. But Chris, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. This was a fun episode, and unfortunately after a loss, but hopefully we can have you back on again sometime, maybe after a W, and have a lot more fun.
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me on. Really humbled that you had me on. You guys won't win again. Great. Yeah, great. Yeah, anyone else on LCD shows come on. It's good fun. This I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun talking about the Reds. Hopefully next time will be after a W. But everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. We'll be back. We actually have a LFC transfer room joining us tomorrow just to kind of recap the transfers, what happened, what didn't happen. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, up the Reds, and we will talk to you guys next time.